I was thinking of something, Sonic. What's that, Piglet? According to the documentary or the research of the Great Maze, that's what the level suggests, apparently it actually has the ability to actually let us go back in time during the past and then during the mid-air stadium, according to what it says. Oh right, that's how it explains it. Hey everybody, this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm Piglet here. We are back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos, and welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Nintendo Wii for the Subspace Emissary mode. So yeah, last time we actually did manage to tackle through both Subspace Part 1 and also Subspace Part 2. And today for this episode, we're about to continue on and move on to the Great Maze, aka possibly the last level and the longest level in the entire game because, well, you'll probably see for yourself until we actually get started here. So, yeah, since during the last videos that we managed to got all the characters are back from ever since and during, you know, Subspace Parts 1 and 2, but even then, though, in addition to actually having return for, I would imagine 25 characters returning, and thanks to the other 6 playable characters, Luigi, Ness, King Dedede, Bowser, and I think possibly Ganondorf and Wario has been newly joined up a team this time. So even then, though, now we can actually pick up to, more accurately, 31 characters in total now. So, yeah, let's start with Ganondorf first, because that's the character we're going to be using for this particular point at the beginning part of the Great Maze. But before we actually get into his moveset, however, though, that this is the way that you can actually get yourselves into action or to start things off with the Great Maze. Basically, this particular room right there is actually a save system. Like, every time when you try to stand onto the Smash Bros. Logo, if you stand on one enough, then you should be able to actually have consist of 3 different options. You can save your progression, or just change your characters, or just, in this case, customize your character with some of these stickers usage, or even just go back to the actual world maps. Even then, though, you can probably just manage to deal with it that way. So, yeah, and as you can probably guys can tell, that the fights we're going to be fighting against is actually forms of PT Piranha again, but this time it doesn't have the Peach and Zelda contains this time around. So even then, though, what that means is that we're actually going to be fighting the exact same boss battles again, but except with a different theme to it, and also the different environment as well. So even then, though, that PT Piranha himself is actually pathetically easy, especially noticeable if you try to take down. It doesn't matter what cages you'd be taking down. So anyways, as you can see, we actually go onto our orange door alongside with this little yellow circular part in the center. What that means is that it will take you to the save zone. So even then, though, you can actually save your progress, or even just change your characterizations and all that stuff, or even just essentially return back to the map you want to actually go to. So that's how the ultimate premise of the Great Maze itself actually works out to be. So yeah, occasionally we're going to be bumping into a lot of doors in this particular level. It's basically noticeable that we come across into different variations of these different walls themselves. As you can see, that door over there actually has some dark smoke covered all over the place, meaning that you have to come across into, occasionally you come across into these little doppelganger fights, mainly due to, for example, the first doppelganger fight we're going to be fighting against is the doppelganger pit. So even then, though, it does kind of remind me of almost related to the Cosmic Clone characters. Well, essentially Cosmic Clone Mario and stuff like that. But even then, though, we're not going to come across into it until we get to later. So, yeah, as far as memories goes with that, the Great Maze, it's actually very much like a Metroidvania type of level, because you'll see why in just a moment. So, yeah, unfortunately we managed to take down Ganondorf by accident. So even then, though, we'll just have to go for Wario in that case, first things first, because even then, though, that, as you guys can clearly tell, that Wario is actually the newcomer introduced in the Super Smash Bros. Universe. He's obvious his actually first appearance was actually forms of Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins for the Game Boy from, I believe it's that game did released in 1992. Yeah, I think that game did came around after Super Mario World, and I'm presuming that's what this is happening. So, but eventually Wario got himself his own series of games like Wario Land and even WarioWare, and occasionally some of these spin-offs here and there as well, like, you know, Game & Wario for the Wii U and stuff like that. So yeah, so right off the bat though is that Wario does have some pretty substantial movesets he's actually got with, like for instance, he can actually perform himself the, we'll just have to quickly look up on his old movesets and stuff like that. The up B attacker performs as a, I can't remember to be exactly what this usually calls it. We even know that the B attacker performs a bite, or in this case, the warrior, I don't know what to, oh yeah, the trumpet is usually says, with a natural special ability. And also the side special attacker performs a warrior bike, so what that allows you to do is that you can actually ride on warrior's bike. And up special attack, as you can see, like a couple of seconds ago, we did perform as a corkscrew. Basically, that warrior can actually deal with a little bit of a corkscrew jump in midair. However, though, the reachable detection wasn't exactly all that great, to be honest with you guys. But even now, after when he used the corkscrew, then he'll start to temporarily lose his momentum. And finally, the down special attack, which is something that many people seem to actually think this is probably the most overkilled abilities that warriors had. Now it's the form of the warrior's wolf, or wolfed, I should say. Or even in this case, warrior's fart, which basically every time when he starts to glow in, let's say, an orangey or greenish color, this means it's your chance to actually use his farts. So even then, that it pretty much does a devastating damage on those particular enemies. But even though we can't exactly show you guys for that point, because even though we haven't exactly got to that yet. So, and yes, unlike how it does in Super Smash Bros. From the Nintendo 3DS, and even especially noticeable in Nintendo Wii U version of Super Smash Bros. 4, that even in this case, that Brawl usually gets Warrior from the start. So even then, what I found was really odd is that in Smash Bros. 4 decided to actually switch between the between Luigi and Wario. They decided to actually switch between the starter character or the unlockable character, because even then though in Brawl, that Luigi was actually the unlockable character for the Mario universe, and Wario was essentially the starter character in Brawl. But they decided to actually swap that in Smash 4 for Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo Wii U as well. And obviously, form of Luigi's actually unlocked from the get-go this time, and Wario was actually unlockable characters. Even then, I kind of felt, I felt really odd about that. So even then, I kind of do the exact same thing for, you know, Mario Kart 7 for the Nintendo 3DS. And also same applies to Mario Golf for the Nintendo 64. If I was serious, that's what I was going to be thinking of. So, anyways, here we go, fighting against with the doppelganger Kirby and what have you. So even then, that he's more likely cosmetic. So, yeah, and also it's quite a little bit more, I don't know what about you, but it's almost like, you know, shadowy and stuff like that. Personally, I think the fighting against with the doppelganger characters is actually the hardest part about this level for me. It was not only because of how the fact that we actually did manage to play this game from time to time, although we haven't touched this game for quite a while now, but it's most likely because I found some of these opponents, especially the doppelganger opponents, did have a little bit of a random pattern to it, especially noticeable if you're actually trying to deal with this level within a harder difficulties or higher, like very hard or the intense mode. So that's as far as memories goes. That's all there is to say. So, but yes, as I explained this to you guys earlier, is that this level does remind me like I was playing a Metroidvania type of game, because for one thing, you got to traverse through every single doors, and also you have to traverse through different areas of the level, which that's maybe the case. Ah, dang it. Darn you, Link. Even though we don't mind about you, Link, but we need to take you down. As far as the doppelganger model of him, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, as far as Ganondorf is concerned, that much like how it does in Super Smash Bros. Melee, that he's already a unlockable fighter. And speaking of such though, he might behave exactly like how it does in Melee days. Like, for instance, you could, like, you know, Ganondorf is essentially the Captain Falcon clone from this particular installment. But even though he still performs the exactly same movesets. Like, for instance, the side special attacker performs a flame choke. And also the up special attacker performs a dark dive. And down special attacker performs a wizard's foot. And the natural special attacker performs a warlock punch, which is equivalent to Falcon Punch from Captain Falcon's case. So, anyways, let's go ahead and switch between each character. So let's go for Luigi and Yoshi and Ganondorf again, so that we can chance to play as him again. And Lucas, even then that we can actually just switch between characters all the time. Speaking of such though, is that there's going to be a lot of times you're going to be seeing these doors like this. Because there are some save points that you can't actually get into these little teleportations and all that stuff, or even especially noticeable, you don't have an option to actually return to the map because you have to find a well, we'll explain more details until we actually get into this progression of the Great Maze itself. So, as far as I'm aware, because you know, this is essentially the longest level in the entire game, so even then that we can hopefully guarantee we can actually discover some more secrets and all that stuff. Alright, so here we are at the forest area, so even then though we actually come across into those switching doors gimmick, just like how it does it in the lake. But even then though we're gonna have to do it more often this time around, so even then though that there's gonna be a lot of emphasis like you know these little progression and all that stuff? Oh, that music actually feels very familiar. I believe that music was actually heavily borrowed from The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance. I'm presuming that's what this has had because of the I'm pretty sure that theme was actually heavily borrowed from the Dark World of any sorts, which I'm presuming that's what that theme was actually heavily based off of from. So yeah, we're gonna have to usually use this little traversing for these different colored doors a lot in this this section, because there's gonna be a lot of times when there's some block progression you was present. This means you have to take down those specific blocks in order to actually proceed. Like, take this part for example. We can't actually go through here unless if we actually traverse through this door here. And then we need to actually break those blocks until we actually go ahead and continue on. So, well, first things first, we have to deal with this really annoying arm mice, which can really catch you off guard really easily. Even though that's only because they usually become really fast and reflexible. Even especially noticeable in the harder difficulties or higher. But I digress. Oh guys, we need to, there's some spikes that we need to dodge effortlessly. Now you're probably thinking there might be something well hidden from over here, but we need to actually cooperate and try to deal with the, you know, traversing for those different doors and that stuff, and there's actually the next dark door that we need to actually go and enter. But before we actually do this though, is that we need to actually figure out this little, you know, platforming obstacle puzzle of any sort. So let's destroy that. And we can now actually go back, but before we actually do that, let's go ahead and get rid of this shell pod first. And of course, we can now actually go back into the previous version of this forest area, and we can actually compete against with the next, I'm assuming it's going to be the next doppelganger fight, which this time around we're going to be faced off against with Yoshi! But yeah, apparently though, when we try to compete against with the doppelganger versions of the characters themselves during that, specifically the Mario characters most likely, it still has the airship theme, so, because you know, they're most likely pure evil or cosmetic look, so, anyway though, a few things I would mention is the fact that recently we got ourselves a new Nintendo Switch game that we've already established earlier that we've already got the first Nintendo Switch game we've got, and that was the form of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though despite the fact that we haven't got ourselves our Nintendo Switch just yet. But apparently we actually got ourselves our next Nintendo Switch game, which did came out recently during almost a week ago now. But even then though, it's probably a week ago now, but even then though, that's speaking of a week ago, that today was actually filmed off the 28th of July, so this means that today, Hey Pikmin has now finally came out on the Nintendo 3DS. So, but even though originally that me and Duffy was supposed to finish Pikmin 3 before Pikmin, Hey Pikmin was about to come out on the 3DS. But it turns out that you've already finished that really early, specifically 1 day early, so, yeah, as far as I'm concerned for that, Piglet, you damn Rhoda. Always try to catch off guard, even then that always makes me worried about that, but it does give me some really bad memories of that little really annoying Rhoda enemy. So, anyways, now we're switching between Yoshi now, so even then though it doesn't really matter. Although luckily though, if you manage to come towards this little safe spot, as you can see about a few seconds ago in the footage, as you can see, what the nicest thing about the safe system actually handles in is the fact that you can, not only does it actually restore your percentage mark, but it's also you can actually restore one of your teammates. So even then though, that you can actually restore your characters alive. So even then though, that's actually really recommendable if you're very curious, if you actually try to like, you know, master the stage. So anyway though. So yeah, you get these suggestions. We're going back into the previous levels we've already been to from individually, but this time with a one giant open world feel to it. So yeah, now we're going to be faced off against with a doppelganger version of Diddy Kong, which even though that might be seem very easy by the looks of this whole things, because of this little, you know the jet rocket that he's usually performs? Oh, wow! The spring itself is actually OP'd when it comes to these enemies in particular. Oh, wow. At least I'll give some of these springs for credit for that. Yeah, these springs do make an appearance in Donkey Kong for the arcade, which is usually, I think it usually takes place in 75M level, so... Yeah, every nowadays you can see this little glowing spots in this top left corner. Is that this means you can actually teleport into those different spots of these different save points. So, specifically, this design's like this. You have the ability to actually go back into the map one if you wanted to. So, that's pretty worth knowing for, but hey, this is something, right? So, I don't know if exactly what's up there though, so even then though. Let's go from the bottom right first, even then though we just want to actually get into the nature parts first, and then we can actually go ahead and move on to somewhat of a bit of a trickier platforming section every once in a while. So in this part we need to dodge a lot of bombs basically, so even though we did not meant to carry this little curry food right there until we actually spice it all up, then before we actually get ourselves exploded and then what have you. Alright, so now we're going to be competing against with the doppelganger version of Captain Falcon, so he might be a little bit tricky because he's really too fast, and also he's quite flexible when it comes to aerial dodging and all that stuff. So that's the thing that makes the doppelganger fights is actually the hardest part about for this level for me, though, especially for us though, for that department, is that sometimes they always good at dodging, and also as a result, they always sometimes do an aerial dodge if you actually try to finish them off with this little devastating blow. Like for instance, Yoshi's bomb from that little instance. That basically sometimes they always seem to actually cooperate in trying to deal with the aerial dodge if you actually decide to do it in midair and what have you. So yeah, that's one thing I need to point things out. Oh yeah, we got ourselves an SS Dolphin makes a return ever since the outside of the ancient ruins itself. So yeah, as we established earlier, that today was actually forms off the 28th of July. That means Hey Pikmin for the Nintendo 3D. What? That seriously does not count. We meant to be staying alive. As soon as we actually flutter jump, and the game tells me that you're still in midair for some reason. But even then, I'm presuming the camera doesn't track up on us. So that's the only thing that makes it annoying. So anyway, though. So now we can actually play as Ganondorf for purpose this time. So even then, though, we can hopefully not going to lose any too much momentum going for Ganondorf. So, and speaking of Ganondorf, as we mentioned earlier, that he's actually the unlockable character. In order to unlock him is by simply you have to go through 3 different things, much like any other characters at this point. You can either play 200 matches in the during the versus matches, in this case Brawl matches if you will, or clear classic mode on hard difficulty or higher for both either Zelda or Link, because depends on what Zelda character, Legend of Zelda based characters you want to play as, for you know Zelda or Link. I don't know about Sheik though, but I'm pretty sure Sheik does count as well. So even then, I'm pretty sure that's why we get a suggestion. So and finally, simply just have to like complete the level called Subspace Part 2, but you have to collect both Zelda and Link trophy first before you actually unlock you know, Ganondorf at the same time. For some reason, they just put in a Kirby theme music on when we're trying to fight against with the Olimar, the doppelganger version of Olimar. Originally, it was supposed to actually try to make the boss battle theme from Pikmin 2, I'm assuming, but apparently this makes it more accurately a Kirby's theme, Kirby's boss theme instead. So that makes it more up for it at this point in time. So anyway, though, so with that being said, I'm pretty sure we're done with this area from now on. So you can know that we can now actually get out of here. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of times, there's going to be a lot of exploration going on in this level, because, you know, it does remind me like I was playing a Metroidvania game. So, it's also a similar thing to how it does it in Tails Adventures, in during the Game Gear, and also at the same time, Sonic Boom Shadow Crystal for the 3DS, and possibly Fire and Ice, because even then, the Metroidvania style of Fire and Ice is actually entirely optional if you want to actually go for these entire collectibles, because, you know, because the only problem I have with the Shadow Crystal, there's only one thing I have the problem about it. But I mean, I'm pretty okay with, you know, Shadow Crystal, even though it's a bit better than Rise of Fluid was. But even then, though, it's just the fact that sometimes that going backtracking and stuff like that is a little bit tiring at points. So, anyway, that digress. So, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, we actually got ourselves our next Nintendo Switch game we've actually owned, which was essentially about a week ago since we actually first now got it. Even though it's technically almost a day one edition, but even then, no, we don't exactly got it for day one. But apparently we got ourselves Splatoon 2 for the Nintendo Switch because, well, obviously since Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup are three are about to tackle through Splatoon Let's Play, so I think this is a perfect opportunity to that. Since that Splatoon 2 did recently came out during a week ago now, we even end up that I'm pretty sure they might actually have ourselves a perfect time to actually do that Let's Play during that time. Oh, dang it, our shield has gone breakable. Hopefully we can get up in time, even though that the next boss well we're gonna have to refight against with is Duon. Even then, we can actually do the strategy again while simply have to guide the missiles towards him. Bullseye! There we go. That's another strategy we actually performed. But even then, that again, that it does remind me like I was playing through, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles Doomsday Zone, so... But still, it's more likely kind of like a reference for that to me. Alright, so before we actually get into the right part of the Hellbird handbelt or something like that, well, I'm really confused with this name, by the way. I think it's called Hellbird than anything like that, so even then, yeah. Apologize for this lack of dialogue, ladies and gentlemen, because it's been a while since I actually come back to this, so... But I digress though, so... We're going to be starting with the inside part first before we actually get into the outside part, because I think the inside part was actually forms out the easiest way to actually deal with this, because I'm assuming that in the outside parts that we have to go, you know, fight for the win basically, so even then there's not much else we can discuss. So, anyway though, so if I remember back in during 2012, that when us anyway, like you and me, Sonic, right? Yeah, which is true. And also the same applies to Stuart from Kingdom 74. They managed to take about 6 parts in order to actually just go for this entire level. Oops, because such we're now gonna be god, we got owned by Snake. In this case, a doppelganger version of Snake, so hopefully we can actually kick his butt. So even though that we can hopefully guarantee we will do that. But thankfully though, we actually got ourselves Lucas in our hands, even then though. To me though, it has been a while since I actually played as Lucas, ever since, I'm assuming the Ruined Hall? I'm assuming as well this is imagining, so even then though, I'm pretty sure we didn't play as him during the entrance to the Subspace level, so... Yeah, it has been a really long while since I actually played as him, so... Even then, it's a great way to actually play as him again, because he's essentially the strongest kid in the entire existence. Because, you know, the you know, if you try to do like a, you know, tapping the analog stick up, and then press the A button at the same time, then he does like a devastating attack. So even then, though, that was really recommendable, especially in this game's case. And similar to how it does in the Smash 4 as well. So here we go, Kazam! There we go. That deals with Solid Snake. So I believe we're going to be still continuing on with the inside part of the Hellbird battleship helm build. So even then, though, we can actually do some more things here and there. So yeah, that's all I can really say about the Great Maze, basically. So hopefully we can actually manage to complete this level during time. However, though, as you can see on during the YouTube screen, or in this case, the YouTube videos you can see on screen right now, that the entire minutes of this particular part at the moment, especially when we actually get into the continuation on the Great Maze itself, this is going to be long, because even then, though, we're actually going to be recording this for up to 40 minutes plus. Because the reason why it says that is because, you know, since the Great Maze was actually is the definition of the longest level in the entire game, that's only because of, you know, things can really happen. So, you can also see the map of the entire thing, but in order to actually get the entire experience of your full map, is that you have to actually continuously go into the different locations based off the levels you've already been to since your previous, your countless amount of adventures. So, now let's go and switch between Pikachu, Kirby, Pit, and, of course, Ike, aka the strongest swordsman in the entire game. Although he essentially runs a little bit slower than Marth, but even then, his sword attacks, he's incredibly overpowered. So even then, we can actually establish that during just a moment, so... Anyways, now we need to actually get ourselves a key here. You can either do this for a multitude of ways to actually get to the key. It's the fact that you can either go onto the second floor to actually reach up from the bottom part, or even if you actually can see right there, we actually did ourselves a wall jump technique. So even then though, that, you know, Pikachu, he's the only one who can do wall jumps and all that. So, there are some character exceptions who actually can't do the wall jumps abilities and all that stuff. So even then, that Pikachu, he's the only one who can do, you know, just to pull off these wall jumps easily. So, now we're going to compete against with the doppelganger version of Mr. Game & Watch. So even then, though, that's, hopefully we can take him out. So, yeah, that's all I can really say about this for the most part, besides the fact that the actual point of this is that, although, to be fair, that we actually did manage to get ourselves Hey Pikmin during today, and as far as we did manage to play it, it's alright, but even then, it doesn't usually compare to the other three Pikmin game trilogy, but even though, it still retains the core gameplay aspect from, ever since the previous three trilogy of games, except we're not going to be exploring in 3D environments. Instead we have to investigate it through, you know, the 2D environment stages. So even then, that's, you know, thanks to the Pikmin's advantage, then that's all as you expected. So, now as far as Hey Pikmin's reviews is concerned, that is something that's more accurately, as far as I've heard from that already, it's actually mixed bag currently. So even then, that, you know, since how the fact that the reviews of the Hey Pikmin has already came out during the video reviews and during the early points as soon as when that game did first came out, so, or in this case, when before the actual game releases. So, that's as far as memories goes, that's all I have to say. Okay, so before we continue, we need to actually restore ourselves for, you know, percentage damage and also just, you know, counter allies. So, this level is very generous with score-based system, because no matter what though, that depends if you actually defeated the enemies and stuff like that. And also same goes to like how it does it in the evil versions of the characters themselves, that you can basically guarantee you can actually put up with these too many points in one single run through. However though, if you do manage to exit out the entire level, especially noticeable if you turn a game off, if you somehow manage to save at one point, that way you're actually able to reset your scores back to 0. So, I'm not sure how this usually condensed with this all kinds of stuff, but even then though, that's all that usually can happen with these things. So, anyway, so at the moment we actually got ourselves approximately 110,000 or so points and stuff like that. Anyways, now we're going to compete against with the evil version of Meta Knight, so even then though we should know what we're doing. So even then that should be expected, because you know, because he's usually takes in charge of the battleship handbelt for the whole entire time, similar to how it does in Kirby's Fun Pack from the, you know, the Revenge of the Meta Knight. So even then that's all there is to really think about, or even just essentially the yeah, as far as I recall correctly. So oh, Starman, we definitely need to obtain that after we said so, and oh, there we go. That was a quick little recovery there, Piglet. Yeah, thank you, Sonic, for actually giving me some credit for. So anyways, that's that area done, and now we actually traverse into the Ruined Zoo. So, yeah, things get a little bit not too complicated around here. So even then, though, we actually did manage to know, oh, we got ourselves yet another secret box that actually contains one of the trophies, obviously. So, trophies are mostly common in these little types of golden boxes like this. There's some segments that usually contains either stickers or just CDs in general, so there's gonna be a lot of times we're gonna have to be finding those kinds of stuff, so... Oh gosh, we almost got owned by the roulette, tornado and stuff like that, so hopefully we get ourselves a chance to actually just to live by it. The thing is us though, is that, you know, now we're pretty much almost nearly towards the end of July already, which can be for something else. So even then, we can hopefully guarantee what's coming up next and during next month. So even then, we won't, I won't let you guys tell you about this just yet until when it gets to the end of this month. So even then, you guys should probably already know on the little brief information on our YouTube channel at the moment. So even then, for the about section. So. Alright, so we need to actually explore for this underground cavern section right there. So hopefully we get ourselves a little bit of a chance to see what there's any other secrets that... God dang it, explosions! Oh, I really hate explosions, I still do. But, that digress though. Now, if you're probably wondering what this little alcove is usually for, but even though it's not accessible to enter in, so even then, at first I thought you had to enter it, but it turns out it's just the background environment, so even then, that's all there's to be expected. Yeah, as far as I would wager, so even then, yeah. So, Yeah, another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 7 most likely, is going to make a comeback and during the middle part of Season 7, and I'm presuming it actually comes out and during, is it like the 5th of August? I'm not exactly 100% sure, but even though, we'll have to look and find out, and I'm pretty much guaranteeing it's definitely going to be the 5th of August, so this might be a perfect opportunity until when before the actual movie was about to be released, and during the, the 6th of October or the 20th of October in the European countries, well, most likely the UK country, so even then, I'm still looking forward to it, even to this point in time. But even though, seems strangely enough, we already seen episode 12, and especially episode 13 already, during the early points of that particular episodes, respectively, because, thanks to Australia Boomerang, did manage to actually get those 2 episodes up. So, what I found was kind of odd is that in the episode 12, it actually contains the high-pitched sound pitching department, and as for episode 13, it stays as normal. So, it feels more likely an odd mishmash between these 2 different episodes. Did have some different, sound pitching departments. So, but even then, as far as the little when we actually get into the latest episodes and during time, then I was expecting it to actually stay as normal. So because it still is listed as Discovery Family since 2015 in season 5. So because Hub doesn't exactly exist anymore, so even then I'm kind of very sad about that, honestly. Anyway, so now we're going to be fighting against with the doppelganger version of Nest. So even then that we can hopefully kick his butt anytime. So yeah, aside from that, we can actually guarantee. Oh yeah, there's actually one more character we have to actually showcase in this game, which is essentially Bowser, because every now and then Bowser now decides to join in our team. So even then, though, we can hopefully guarantee we'll actually just showcase all of him before we actually find ourselves our next save zone. So yeah, that's what I can really imagine about it. So yeah, they're on the map we already discussed upon on. You can also double check on them until you actually decide to continuously pause the game until you actually realize that you have to double check on what areas you have either explored yet, or even some of these areas you haven't explored yet, like for instance right there. And you can also take your snapshots on your photos for some reason, so you even know that, yeah. Speaking of such though, is that since Super Smash Bros. Melee did actually feature the camera mode so that you do have the ability to actually take snapshots during battles and fights. But even then, this is actually the second time that Super Smash Bros. Brawl does have this some sort of addition. However, the biggest difference this time around is that they did manage to improve upon it. So even then, it acts like a separate button now. So even then, specifically the actual menu itself, the pause menu and stuff like that, no longer need to actually hook up onto our 4th GameCube controller socket. So even then, no need to worry about that. So that's essentially a cool thing from my knowledge. So. But it still requires the memory card in order to actually just save your screenshots and everything. So anyway, so that's it for that area done, and I believe we actually got ourselves a next boss fight as soon as we actually continuously go to the left, which I was hoping this might be something more relatable to the boss fight we already fight against from before. So even then, we can hopefully guarantee by that. So everything else is all in check here. So yeah, you might be surprised that in this case, you probably expect at this point is that we're gonna have to switch between those characters a lot of times, especially noticeable that, that you haven't seen these characters on screen for quite a long time. Oh, you goddamn amusance, that enemy just killed us in the end. And seriously, we actually just try to take down this basis. But hopefully we can take him down with ease until that time. So yeah, for the most part, the Great Maze is exactly a endurance run type of level syndrome, because you got to be exploring for those different parts of the areas you've already been into quite a lot. The only areas that you can't actually go into these different areas and stuff like that, which I'm pretty sure it was actually, I don't know what I would call it if I, sorry for a bit of a lack of awkwardness going on here. So anyways, now we move on to the next boss, which is essentially the revisiting boss fight, which was Pokey. So even then, thanks to the bounty of fighters we've now got, we even then originally that, Lucas and Ness already fight against with him. So even then, yeah, Now, originally in the PD Brawler fight, we already fight against like twice in a row at this point. Now, the first time you actually go fight against with him, that Kirby, he's the only one who's going to take in trying to deal with him. Which is kind of cool if you ask me, that Kirby's about to take down one of these Mario threats. Like, you know, Mario's threats. So even end up that, well, usually for the enemies themselves though, honestly, Sonic. Yeah, anyway though, so hopefully we're almost going to take him down, and booyah! Thanks to the power of Star Rod, the precious Star Rod. Oh, before we exit out, we need to grab these stickers quickly, before we actually go off to the next exit off screen. So, we're pretty much done with the Ruined Zoo for now on, so you can end out that most of those areas are really short to complete. But yeah, as far as the main areas are concerned, is that this entire area will actually take about, I would say probably roughly about an hour or so, or an hour and 30 minutes and stuff like that. Although I may be wrong about that, because it all depends on that, you know, the backtracking heavy and stuff like that. So, anyways, the next set of characters we're gonna have to bring out off, and obviously form of Donkey Kong, Falco, and Rob the Robot, and let's go for Captain Falcon. So even then, we can actually get ourselves the coolest character teammates we actually go through. So yeah, that's that done, and we did not meant to go back in here. Actually, this might be a perfect opportunity, because now we can actually save. So let's see what progression we got. 84%? Jeez, we've almost there to 100% completion. Like, I believe we're actually off by 16%, which I'm pretty sure that's what this is happening. So even then, that should be expected. So, anyway though. I believe we're actually done with these two areas from now on, so now we can actually go into the bottom left route, so even then though, that we can actually discover what these next set of areas we might actually come across. So, let's see what is beyond this door over towards here, but first we need to take down these little sets of blocks here. So even then, I'm assuming it actually takes place in the swamp or the jungle level, so even then that should be probably expected at this point. So yeah, you know the level, the Subspace Bomb Factory Part 2, that originally that the game decided to tell us think that it's sort of like a guessing department when it comes to actually getting yourselves, you know, if you have actually fully completed the entire level already. But we don't know exactly for sure if we actually did manage to find everything or even just missed one of them, so even then we can actually double check on that. We might save that door for later time, so even then, let's go for the, you know, the bottom route first, so even then, it doesn't matter what doors we might go for, so even then, what opponents we're going to be facing off against with. It's Samus Aran! One of the bounty hunters from the Metroid series. So, eventually at this point until, alongside with the upcoming events during next month, now, in our time, we might actually decide to go through every single Metroid games, because in our own time, because you know, Metroid Samus Returns is about to be on its way until 2 months' time. And also at the same time, Metroid Prime 4 for the Nintendo Switch should be on its way as well. So even then, though, I'm just hoping that was going to be the case. So, eat my hammer, Samus Aran! But even then, though, we've already kicked our butt already, so even then, that should be probably expected at this point. Alright, so I believe now we move on into, let's just say, the research facility slash Subspace bomb factory levels department as far as I'm concerned. Oh yeah, there's one thing I have to actually have to point things out right now, because there's one thing that we haven't sort of discussed upon for this particular point of this any videos at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently there's actually one game that we haven't talked about, and that's the form of, you know, the forgotten character ever since the 90s, which is essentially Bubsy the Cat. Apparently the producers decided to actually bring him back by Accolade, but this time is going to be only exclusive to, specifically on Steam and PlayStation 4, and that was the form of Bubsy the Woolies Strikes Back. Oh my god, did not expect to see that coming. Apparently they decided to bring Bubsy the Cat back ever since 1996, so at this point it might actually be, let's just say 21 years ago since that terrible Bubsy 3D for the PlayStation 1. So even though, as far as I'm concerned, that every single Bubsy game is just doing not that good, or even not that awesome. It just feels tragic, and also at the same time, there's a lot of frustration here and now too. Anyway, though, so even then, regardless of that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be released on September 2017. So even then, I'm pretty sure if I was mistaken or not, but apparently if this is going to happen, and during that day was going to be released upon, apparently we can actually decide to actually let Defi decide to do the playthrough on Sonic 06 during the exact same month as when Bubsy makes a return from that. So, now we're going to be face off against with the doppelganger version of Pikachu. So he might be a bit soft because, you know, the quick move attacks is actually pretty reliable at points. Or even especially noticeable that his attacks is completely, or even his moveset is really quick and fast. Or even in this case, this little, you know, he's constantly walking all over the place, or running away all over the place all the goddamn time. Even though we already played him for a moment ago. Alright, let's toss this Gooey Bomb, so hopefully it'll should explode, and kaboom! That way we should able to actually kick his butt. So yeah, another thing is worth mentioning though, is the fact that recently we got ourselves our brand new information on Sonic Mania for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC version, is the fact that this is going to be the first time we're going to be seeing the special stage image on Sonic Mania. So even then though, as far as I remembered, that special stage department on that... What? How come that key disappeared? Oh, you enemies are something else, right? Apparently these enemies decided to actually just try to protect the key somehow, and then they decided to actually become like guards. So anyway though, so yeah, with that special stage in particular in the Sonic Mania game, it does kind of reminds me of almost like a mismatch between like Sonic Time Twister from the Fan Hack game, and also the likes of how it does it for Sonic CD, because usually we're going to be exploring the 3D environments just like how it does in Sonic CD, but this time we're not going to be, although we're actually going to be chasing down the UFO this time around. So even then though, no need for half-pipe special stages unlike how it does in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 and stuff like that, because instead, that we're actually going to be doing, we're chasing down the UFO, so that's actually pretty cool. So we will talk more details until we actually get into the next video. So yeah, we'll have to end things off here, so join us next time on Let's Play Super Smash Bros. Brawl in the Subspace Emissary mode, is that we're going to still continuing in a Great Maze level. So even then though, we can actually still continuing through the research facility section. So let's go for Link, Bowser, and Ice Climbers, and Lucario. So yeah, see you guys then. Later, fellas.